welcome everybody. We're just waiting a few more of your colleagues, a few more attendees, and we'll start. We are currently live streaming and the microphones are live.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Councillor Gamble, this is the chamber. We're just getting some feedback through your microphone.
I'll turn it off.
Thank you. Looks like everybody's almost here, everyone. Just again, a reminder, we are starting the live stream. The microphones are live. We will call to order in a few moments here.
Ox.
Carl, is that you breathing loud?
Hello?
I heard breathing. Was that you?
I don't know. I do breathe.
Well, you're the only one that has your. You're the only one that has your mic on.
I was just gonna say, Rob. We all breathe.
No, it was like this.
I'll stick to photosynthesis from now on.
That might have been my partner behind me, Rob.
Oh yeah, Darth.
Excellent. Looks like we all have all members of the Standing Policy Committee here. I will, until we do the election of the chair and vice chair, I will assume the chair for this meeting. And I'll call this meeting to order at 1:31, and then I will read the acknowledgement statement. The City of Lethbridge acknowledges that we are gathered in the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationships to the land. The City of Lethbridge is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3.
So if we don't elect a chair, does Ryan just stay as chair? Just the thought.
We will proceed with the election of a chair. Are there any nominations for the position of chairman?
I nominate Blaine Higgin.
I second that.
Councillor Higgin, do you accept the nomination?
Actually, I would like to nominate Mark. I would prefer as Mark, if that is okay, Mark.
I'm sorry, are you on mute? No, I'll accept that. Sure.
Awesome. So now we have an election, we have speeches, and how long is the campaign?
I would like to decline and thank you very much, but I would let's put Mark forward there, and I need a seconder really quick.
I will second that.
Will you be vice chair then?
Sure, I'll be vice chair.
Thank you. I'll second that then.
Are there any other nominations for the position of chair?
No, I move that nomination cease.
I second that.
Let's call for a vote on that. You want to do a vote by roll call?
It's unanimous.
Unanimous? Excellent. By consent. Nominations cease. And Councillor Campbell has been declared the chair.
Yes.
Victory
Good job.
speech. Victory
Which
speech.
committee is this?
Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair?
Move that nomination cease.
I second that.
That was really quick there, Carlson.
You already agreed, but you already agreed though.
I've had 3 cups of coffee. I'm ready to go.
All right.
Call for a vote or by general consent?
I think
Think
that's
by
consensus.
Excellent. Acting Mayor Hagan,
Thank
you
you
were the
both.
vice chair. I
Appreciate
will turn the chair over to Councillor Campbell now, the chair of this Standing Policy Committee.
Okay, looking at my agenda, this is, we are to adopt this agenda right now. Is there anything that we need to add, or can we approve this by consensus?
I don't have anything to add. You can adopt this by general consent.
Yes,
Yes.
so be it. Okay,
I'll
Jeff?
second it.
Thanks.
just see, hand up, Jeff.
Thanks, Mark. Just something that I've been mentioning to other committees and think it would be a good one for any committee is we have several, and maybe Ryan will talk about this during his presentation, but we have several committees underneath us that report up to us, like combative sports, historic place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm wondering if we should have them as standing items on the agenda. That way that they're never sort of lost. They don't have to have anything to report at each committee, but at least they're there to remind us that those are the committees that do report to us, and they have a standing place on our committee.
Blaine, you have a comment or a question?
No, I think that's a great idea, Councillor Carlson, is even if they're listed there, and if we go through of them, and we've been to a lot of different committee meetings where you just touch on them, is there anything from this, and then we at least keep them up at in our minds that we do want to look at them each time, and if there's any conversations or any communication that comes in, I think that's a fantastic idea, and I would definitely support that.
Rob?
So would they not need to be on the agenda, or can they just show up? So wouldn't they have to be on the agenda beforehand? So if you
If
have
I may.
someone on one of those groups, they would have to be on the agenda somehow, unless they just want to show up and we have to vote whether or not they're going to be on. Doesn't that make the meetings kind of unruly and a bit untenable?
Each of your BCCs that reports up, they might not have a monthly report that comes up to you. Your mandate has been codified within the procedure bylaw, and the reporting structure in each of those bodies has already been indicated as such. A communication has gone out to each of those bodies as well that they know that they report up to this standing policy committee. It
Right.
may not be expedient and or necessary to do this at all.
Yeah. So
I'm
it's not like we're going to forget about them. It's they also need to do their best to keep us informed.
Yeah, I guess my thought is this is a good way to keep that relationship alive. Folks need to see whose committees they're reporting to. There may not be anything at a meeting, but at least they're top of mind, and those are the folks that we are thinking about. It's similar in other committee structures I deal with, where you post your vision, your mandate, your values, etc., on each agenda. It basically just keeps it top of mind. So it's not a hill to die on. It's just something that I've been instituting in most of my committees, that rather than having items randomly appear, there's always a place for them on the agenda. It could come to the part, are there reports from any committees? None to report, and we move on. But at least there's a spot for them. It's just a thought.
Councillor Carlson, also on the city's website, under each of these standing policy committees, the reporting structure exists there as well, to understand your thought process on this as well. But the following the mandate that has been put out, they are going to be submitting reports and following a review process from an agenda review committee for this standing policy committee in particular. And that committee will have the chair, the newly elected chair on it, and they'll communicate out kind of what will be coming, when it'll be coming to you as members of the committee.
Okay, just for my edification, can I ask what it would the reticence to have a standing item on an agenda be? Is it that on base can't do that, or it doesn't seem onerous? But as I said, not a hill to die on.
Well, there's 20. There's 20 bullet points that we would have every meeting to go through every bullet point.
I see 7, Rob. I'm not sure what you're looking at.
Um,
I see combat of sports, historic places, library, performing arts steering, reconciliation, GALT, and youth advisory.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the actual functions that of the different groups: arts and culture, indigenous and reconciliation, diversity, inclusion, youth, wellness, partnerships, any of those kinds of things. But the actual committees themselves, you're thinking should be on there?
Just so that they have a standing item on the committee should they wish to take part. It's basically just a recognition factor that these are the folks that we are dealing with and who report to us.
Robin Harper, you had a comment?
Yeah, and Ryan can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the problem with having them all listed there and allowing them to bring something up is it doesn't allow the community or anybody to review something that might come up. And I think, like Rob had said, anything that is supposed to come to the SPC meeting has to be reviewed and then submitted beforehand for a minimum amount of time in order for there to be any engagement taking place.
I'll echo what Mr. Harper has said there is, again, and part of the development of the Standing Policy Committee process was to engage the community in the actions of the public, in the actions of council and its committees on the decision-making processes and the information that is there. And if there is just a standing item with nothing on the agenda, again, they may not necessarily be reporting to that. You do not necessarily want to set the expectation that the Combative Sports Commission would be reporting at said meeting.
Blaine, do you have another comment?
Yeah, it's not that they will be reporting at every meeting, and of course, if we get communication, that will be part of the made up agenda. But it still gives an idea, because if there's, as a standing item, there might be something that we think about as we're looking through these. And you know what, I did get communication from this person, and just to have that out there, I really like the idea, and we spoke about it at other SPCs, and so I think what's best here, rather than going around and around, is, do we have a motion on the table? If not, I would like to put one forward that we do have that on the agenda.
Okay. So we don't have one on the table at the moment, but any other comments before we get to that?
I guess, yeah, personally, I'll support Blaine in that, obviously. I look back to our council agenda. We have standing items there all the time. Presentations, inquiries, reports from committees. They live there to give the opportunity and to remind folks of what we deal with. I'm not sure what the reticence is to not having these, but I'll support Blaine in putting that forward.
Okay.
If I may, those are items that have been on every agenda, not as a standing agenda item. They're just an item. If there's nothing in there, they're not dealt with. Again, I guess that kind of is what you're
That's
explaining.
exactly
However,
the point, right?
your agenda is published 7 days in advance, and I just want to make sure that it's clear. Again, and this is a live stream meeting to the public, that if we do this, that respective body may not be reporting. They may not know that they are expected to be reporting or not expected to be reporting, and there may not be anything associated to it. And further, the public that reviews your agenda under that category may not see anything, and they may have an expectation that there is some sort of report coming from that body. I just want to make that clear.
Well, Blaine, I guess we'll bring this forward with Blaine. Do we need to have that in a form of an actual presentation? Not a presentation, but what's the word I'm looking for?
A motion of the
A
resolution.
motion. Thank you.
Resolution.
Okay, let's put that as a motion. I don't know, Brian, you want to wordsmith that?
Sorry, was someone making a motion?
Yeah, Blaine.
Actually, yeah, and Councillor Carlson, I'm going off of what you said, and you said it. Let me use this word much more gooder than I did, and so if if you want to put that in, that's the wording that you had. That was great. I appreciate what you had.
Sure. Further, be it resolved that the BCCs which report to the Culture and Social SPC be added as standing items to the agenda. Gesundheit.
If I
and
may,
assume-
sorry, I'm just doing a quick scan of your procedure bylaw to see if there's anything in here currently that tells you what is allowed or is a standing item already on the agenda as well.
I reviewed it. There's nothing.
Okay, is this from Jeff or is this from Blaine?
I will put the motion forward, or I will second it. Either way.
Okay. So it's from Jeff and it's seconded by Blaine. Let's do that. We'll do a quick vote. All in favor? I am. Sure.
In favor.
Opposed? Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, that carries.
Excellent. We'll mock up an agenda like that and have that ready for the agenda review committee of this committee to when they meet next.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, so we'll now adopt the agenda that we have before us now, correct?
Please.
So if there's,
I'll move.
again, if there's no other issues, then we'll accept the agenda by consensus. Okay,
Certainly.
I've lost my agenda. Stand by. Where'd it go? Okay. Next on the agenda, consent. Sorry, what is the consent? I don't know what that is.
We have nothing.
Okay. We have nothing on the consent. All right. Presentations from Ryan. Ryan.
I'm going to make this brief. All of you have sat on a standing policy committee and received the exact same presentation. The contents of that presentation were attached to this agenda. It's just a reminder that has been pointed out. We have several different boards, committees, and commissions reporting up into this body, and they will be reporting on various issues throughout the future, and for you to make recommendations up to council as a whole on. If there are any questions, I'm open for questions.
Any questions for Ryan? I see none. Then I will accept this presentation. Does there have to be a motion for this, or is this just as information?
As information would be just fine.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on to submissions. This is from Terry Plato. Is this? Yeah, she's not there, is she? No. This is just a submission on all of the library bylaws.
It's correct. Invite has been extended to Ms. Plato, and she may be logging on here momentarily.
Okay.
Mr. Harper's also on the line, and I am available to answer any additional questions if required.
Okay. Robin, do you have anything? Oh, Jeff, you have a question.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a question. Council approves the library bylaws, or we just have them as information?
See, Ms. Plato just logged in here. Let's give her a moment. Maybe she didn't hear the question. If not, I can.
I just couldn't recall whether council actually approves the public library bylaws, or if we are just in receipt of them as information.
So Councillor Carlson, this is Tara.
Happy New Year.
Tara.
Haven't seen you since.
Welcome
Thanks.
to this.
Thank you. So the Alberta Libraries Act reads exactly as I put in the submission. So it says a municipal library board, on passing a bylaw under section 36, shall forthwith forward a copy of the bylaw to the council of the municipality. And then it goes on to say that the council of a municipality may disallow a bylaw passed by a municipal board it has appointed. So you don't have to approve the bylaw, but you may disallow it.
Okay, thank you. So when we forward it to council, it's basically just for their information to keep them up to date, correct?
Correct. Again, unless they wish to vote to disallow it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody have questions for Tara on the bylaws that were submitted to us? That they should be in your package. Anything you'd like to comment on, Tara, while you're here?
So the bylaws were just a few simple updates. The first one was to basically put something very high level in place, which would allow library management or the board to put in place measures required to keep staff and customers safe. So obviously a lot of things have come up in the last year around things like social distancing, mask wearing, that the library put in place. So it's just allow us to enforce those measures that have been put in place. The enforcement mechanisms were also added. Those aren't new, but they were added just to clarify how our bylaws are enforced. And then there was just the removal of a schedule of fees.
Right.
since you're also here, how are things going at the library?
We're closed to the public right now. We are running curbside service and online services. That's going very well. It's actually very, very busy on curbside pickup, so that's good.
Good. Any word from the? I imagine you wouldn't hear any word from the provincial government as to when you can reopen. That's probably just everybody's waiting for all of that, right?
That's right. We find out when everybody else does.
Okay. Rob, question.
Thank you, Tara, thank you for this. I appreciate the fact that the board has looked at the 2.3 and the conduct in the library and really did an emphasis on safety. Because I think rather than a prohibition on behavior, it's you're wanting to keep people safe, and I think that's actually a positive measure versus saying you can't do this, can't do that, and you're looking at it in the framework of safe behavior, safe usage of the space. I think that's a really, really good wording, and I could certainly support that.
Thanks, Rob. Anybody else with a comment or question for Tara? I see none. So this again is just received as information and moves on to a council resolution.
We might need a motion to forward it to council for their information.
Is that okay?
I'll make that motion.
All right. We have a motion from Jeff Carlson to forward the resolutions to council, seconded by Rob.
Yep.
Anyone opposed? I see none. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you
Enjoy
very
the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Perfect. Any other inquiries or responses? Any updates? Oh, sorry, Jeff.
Sorry, Mark. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious because we're heading into our governance SPC next week, which I believe is sort of taking on most of the role and responsibilities of OEG that has been in place for several terms now. And so at OEG, we've often had strategic talks or scans of the environment type talks, what's coming down the pipe, where we should be headed. And I'm just wondering how the SPCs are going to function with regard to that. Are we mostly just a receive from committees, their work plans, their ideas, their thoughts, etc., or we receive referrals from council, or are the SPCs also going to be doing some, not sure how to, some strategic or some conversation or dialoguing around how to move things forward? I'm just curious if the committees are talking about anything like that.
Is that directed to anyone in particular, or is that just for debate?
It's basically for the whole committee. Just I'm wondering, is it a place for us to have discussion and dialogue around things that are being thought of, or is it a much more formal process where committees report to us, we take actions?
No, I think we can have that discussion because we're official policy committee of council. We can have some informal discussion at the chair's discretion if we just want to, have a discussion about the topic at hand versus a formal debate about everything. Because then what we can do is use that discussion to formulate resolutions that we need to put through to council. And some of those might not clarify themselves until we've actually had a really good discussion about it in public, right?
Mm-hmm. And thank you.
I like having informal discussions, things that are brought up, and sometimes just on the cuff things that can be brought up that we can go into heavier detail with, and I think that's productive to come up with any other thoughts that someone might have. So yeah, I like that, Jeff.
And so how, I guess my next question is, how would we do that? Is it something that say, would we have a round table at the end of our meetings?
That's the first thing that popped in my head. Yeah, let's have a round table.
Yeah.
If the things are you know, on your mind, this would be a good opportunity to bring it to this committee and, if need be, bring it forward to council.
I think there's a possibility we could also do it while that person is here presenting to us, to ask them a whole bunch of questions and you know, similar to what happens in council, but even a little bit differently, is because one question will lead to another, and then we have the discussion, not a debate per se, but a discussion about, hey, does anybody else hear this? I heard this. Did you hear this? And then Jeff, you might say, no, I heard this. Mark or Blaine might say, no, I'm hearing this. And then we clarify that with the presenter or the city staff. And I think that's what I foresee some of this being, as seeking clarification and understanding about what was just presented to us versus, you know, strictly us responding and then doing a resolution on what we should do next. Because when it goes to council, we better be prepared.
Yeah.
We have better have an understanding, the four of us, right?
Yeah.
And I like the you know, the less hostile, and that's not the right word, hostile environment that people have, you know, in a council chambers, that they should feel comfortable about being in front of us, or we should feel comfortable about anything that we need to bring forward. I mean, it's in public, but I think it's important that this is the perfect opportunity to bring all of those issues up and to discuss it. So that's my thought.
I could be hostile if you like.
Oh, I've heard.
And I appreciate the discussion, because one of the things I really enjoyed about OEG was that it was very informal. We'd chat about things we're hearing in community, things we've read, and said, you know, is anyone hearing this or thinking about this? And if it got traction, then it was on the agenda and we did some exploration. So I'd appreciate that more collegial approach.
Right.
So thank you.
So, yeah. So conversely too, so if one of us hears something in the community versus what happens at council, let's say Blaine and I are talking, we say, hey, have you heard this? Then we can actually ask Ryan to go and get that organization or that department or whoever and bring him to our standing policy committee for clarification and discussion. And then before it goes to council, then we'll have the answers, or we can clear up those rumors after one of our meetings, and the chair can send an email to council saying, hey, you may have heard this. This is what happened in our meeting today. Right. So I think we can be flexible that way. Does that make sense to you, Ryan?
I believe so. Tonight, I would definitely work through it with the governance SPC and the other ones that we're all involved in as well.
Species.
Blaine, you had a comment?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking that we're going to have this happen, and I've got to say we're going to have it happen that these standing policy committees are going to be presented to council, and the questions will still come from council, whether they go back to standing policy and these different committees or these different organizations come forward. There's still going to be that discussion at a council level. I'm hoping that, you know, we're not going to be a duplication of what we're doing, but I can't see how it won't be, and I don't want to be a glass half full person, but I'm sure that that's going to be the case, that you know, we may discuss something, but when it gets to council, there'll be further discussion. Does that then come back to the SPC and that organization presents, and then we go back to council again? I'm just trying to figure out how this is going to play out. And I mean, obviously being new with SPCs, all of us, it's something that we need to be cognizant of, I think.
Well, I think with the OEG, the way it worked, and there was always discussion afterwards, you know, the roundtable discussions, and lots of ideas were presented then when I was on the OEG committee, and I think that really evolved into making things happen and presenting those ideas to council. I don't think there was duplication on those. I think it was a nice way to kind of ease into a discussion on both the committee level and in the council meeting. I mean, that's my thought.
Now we have had them. We did send things back to OEG, but
Yeah.
but you're right. I think a lot of that discussion did happen there once it was brought forward, and most of the time, those individuals that were on that committee, if you're on that, you're digging deeper into some of these issues. So of course, you would think that that research has already been done, and so yeah, I mean I could see both ways happening. Mark, I appreciate.
But council's the body that makes the legal decision.
Yeah.
Right, so it might go back and forth, Blaine, depending on if council as a whole wants enough information to make a decision. But we're the ones that are going to drive that, whether it goes to council or not.
Right.
Now, if there's, sorry, Mark, if it's okay,
Yep.
Mr. Chair, if it does go to council, the discussion will happen there. Now, will council also have the opportunity? Well, obviously they would to have this organization in front of them rather than going back to SPC. Are we going to be running into that?
Mm-hmm. Well, similarly with the library bylaw that we just heard, is that if council has to have a look at it to decide whether or not they object to it, was what Tara said. She might need to be around to have that discussion again with council, right? But if we've all heard it and our resolution is that we accept it, and after having a discussion in council, someone puts a resolution saying no, they don't want that, then that's it. It ends there, right? Whether we approve it or not, it ends there.
If I may just interject here for a moment, the information, so the report that was on the agenda today from Ms. Plato in the library with regards to that topic, subsequent to this meeting, it will be forwarded up to, I think it was the February 9th meeting that was identified, and it's going to come with your recommendation as SPC attached to it. And the clerk's office will handle attaching that recommendation right on the front of that report. The report will contain the exact same information that has been employed there, and the invitation will be extended to Ms. Plato to be available to answer any questions again, or any member of her board on the date that it appears before council. As the standing policy committee that's seen that topic, your recommendation was, and it's following your mandate, to push it there for the final, as you will, view, and then decide if you need to disapprove or not.
I think the more volatile the situation is, the more we're going to go back and forth. But I think I'm going to say that 80 to 90% of what we decide at the standing committee, and we debate and we recommend to council, that should be where it goes, and then we'll make the recommendation, and of course council has the ability to say no, go back, think about it again. So I don't think that's going to happen that much. So I think this is where the foundation is for the discussions at these standing committees. My thought. Lane, Jeff.
Thanks, Mark. And I agree. I think the committees will likely be a bit of a clearinghouse, so to speak, for the committee work, and we'll be doing a lot of the vetting and hopefully streamlining it so council doesn't have to deal with it in council meetings to the same depth that we will. But I think even more interesting to me is the work our committee can be as, I guess, sort of an incubator. And I'm following on the OEG process, where we would sit and we would have the roundtable discussion and say, is this something that 3 or 4 of us are thinking about and interested in? And then before moving any further, we'd go and check in with council and say, here's what we've been thinking. Should we do more work on this? If 5 of them say no, well, that's dead. But if they say, yeah, that's interest, keep working at it. I think, and then it'll be an evolving process where we build the trust of the committees, the standing policy committees, to do the good deep dives and forward that onto council, saving all of council the work. So I think it'll be an evolving process, but I'm excited for it.
Yep. Thanks, Jeff. Any other comments?
And we're going to bring, and we're the ones that are probably going to bring the resolutions that for council to debate, right? So based on these issues that we see, one of us will bring that resolution forward to say whatever it is.
You mean the chair?
Or the vice chair.
Or one of us.
Okay. Do we need a resolution to say we want to have a roundtable discussion at every agenda meeting, or
No.
Or should we just assume that we're going to do that? Ryan, what is it? Is this a motion that we need to make?
I don't believe so.
I think the chair can
Okay.
just add it.
Okay. Okay, that's good. I don't see anything else that's on the agenda unless anybody has something they want to bring up.
Just
Yeah.
a quick question, if I can. Ryan, you're sort of on point for all these committees. Is there anything coming down the pipe that we should be aware of and start perhaps thinking about or orienting ourselves towards? I can't think. Oh, I think Robin has something.
Yeah.
Robin?
Robin does.
Am I
Yeah,
up?
go ahead.
Okay. No,
Go ahead,
just
Robin.
in response to your question, Councillor Carlson, in regards to what's coming up, we are scheduled to bring the Rec and Culture Master Plan and State of Recreation report to this committee on February the 18th, I believe. So just something to keep in mind that we are preparing to bring that forward. The other question we have on that topic is the length of time for the presentation. Our understanding right now is that it's 5 minutes. Is that hard and fast, or can we request a little bit more time? I understand the questions portion is kind of there is no limit to that, but as far as the presentation goes itself, we're just wondering about the time.
Jeff?
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate that. And this is something I've often thought about. The 5-minute limit at council, I think, makes a lot of sense, because we are trying to do, we would get sidetracked or bogged down with lengthy presentations at council, which would detract us from doing actually the, I don't want to say real work, but the heavy lifting that we should be doing at council. I don't think committees should have the same sort of limitations, but that's just me. If we need we're supposed to be doing the hard, deep dives for council, and then to bring it to them and have them recognize that we've done the work. And so I don't know what others' thoughts are, but I don't think the limitations on presentations at committee need to be as strict. That's just me.
I agree with you on that. Yeah, definitely at council where we've got 40 things on the agenda, but when we have council standing committees, I think you're right. This is where we do the heavy lifting. This is where we go into detail. This is where we can ask as much as we want, and for the recommendation. So yeah, I agree. 5 minutes is a nice sort of rule of thumb, but not to go strict on it.
Well, and we could tell them 10 maximum and possibility of more. I'd hate for someone to come here and want to have an hour-long discussion with us about something.
No, I mean, that's not our intent at all. It's just we'll work with whatever time we're allowed. I mean, for master plan, 5 minutes, we're not getting into very much at all. Yeah. So 10, 15-ish would be helpful for sure.
If I may add as well, don't forget there will be public participation components to all of your SPCs, and just to keep in mind, not saying 5, 10, and 15 minutes for a presentation will be held as a steadfast rule, but to remember that the longer a presentation goes and the expectation of a member of the public or members of the public come to participate, that they may be here for a longer duration than they may expect. And that is, we can manage that as we go. Alternatively, you could work your agenda review committee, so the chair, the clerk of the meeting, and then the member of the senior management team or the director, who is your direct support for this SPC, could receive requests for time lengths for their presentations, and make note to the committee that, hey, this one will be 5 minutes, but this one will probably be more like 12.
Right.
I think it's an evolving thing.
So does that, Ryan, does that mean that you should have a agenda discussion with Mark and Blaine prior to the meeting, just to say, hey, these guys want half an hour? And then those two can make a decision on whether or not they should get half an hour?
Those agenda review discussions are actually going to be scheduled as soon as the chair was elected, and will be scheduled moving forward before all the agendas are published and the meeting happens.
Nice, thank you. I should have known that. Thank you.
Question on that, if I can.
It's
Agenda review committee for this is, I believe it's just the chair and admin.
Correct.
Personnel is okay. Thank you. Saved you one, Blaine.
Well,
okay.
what is
Yeah,
the preferred-
I was going to say earlier, and I wanted to comment on a possible slippery slope here is the 5-minute limit. Out there, if we're doing if it doesn't matter if it's for administration or if it's for public coming in, if the rules are different, I do have concerns with that. Do remember that we do receive these packages prior, and so it's to highlight some of the issues on or that are contained in the information that's provided previous. So I think it's my personal opinion would be it would be at the chair's discretion as to time, and I think we've kind of discussed a little bit about that. If we set a time at 20 minutes or 15 minutes, if someone is going to present for 4 minutes, they will take 20 minutes. And I just want to make sure that we know that is a possibility. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great the communication's there and that we're there listening and we're transparent, etc. But I think it should be, personally, considering each in every presentation that comes forward, we could look at it that way rather than just a blanket statement of 20 minutes or a half an hour, because people will take what's there. Just my thoughts.
I like it. Rob, you're muted.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Then Mark and Ryan can have that discussion.
Agreed. Discretion of the chair.
Yeah.
Robin, did you have another comment?
Yeah, if I can ask then, what is the preferred process to make the request through? Is it through the director onto the city clerk's office or onto the chair of this committee? Or I'm just looking for clarification on the process to make that ask if that's the case.
I think we'd follow that process right there, Mr. Harper. For a council meetings, the exact same process is employed. The request goes to the clerk's office. The request then goes to the agenda review committee. That way, they all come at the exact same time as part of the review bundle or review package. So all requests, as such, will come to the clerk office, and then we will take it to that respective agenda review committee.
Okay, thank you.
Do people that want to speak at an SPC have to pre-register with you, Ryan?
On today's agenda, you may have noted there is a statement on there that if you wish to speak to a particular item, to email cityclerk@lethbridge.ca. I believe it also speaks to, and I'm just pulling it up right now at this moment, a time limit for those discussions. We're also in the early stages, and with anticipated completion of hopefully end of day tomorrow, standing up a submission form on the city's website where, much like our public hearing process, anyone who would like to address a particular topic could complete a fillable form on the city's website for each of these bodies, identifying the topic, the date that they wish to speak to, if they wish to speak or not, and then their comments pertaining to it. If it's received before the agenda publication and in time for the agenda review committee, so the Monday before the meeting, or the week before the meeting, it would be reviewed by the agenda review committee and may form part of the public agenda. Afterwards, if it's not, it will be brought forward as information to the standing policy committee. Same process is employed for council as a whole with regards to public hearings, and that will be employed across all of your standing policy committees.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, anything else we need to talk about? Robin.
Just another question in regards to this committee's preference. because we are also going to be bringing some policy change recommendations forward in March. And just a question on preference for this committee in regards to how they would like to see that. The library presented a one-page that tracked the changes. So it was a one-page document where you could see the changes that are being proposed. The other option is a two-page where you have the existing policy and then another one that has the suggested changes. What would be the preference for you to be able to clearly see what the proposed changes are going to be?
I always like to see both.
Yeah, that's I was just gonna chime in and say that. Rob, you think so as well? Anybody else want to make a comment?
I think it depends on the document. Maybe it's better to have one policy fits all, but like with the library one today, I didn't need to see the entire bylaws. It was pretty clear they were changing one section for enforcement, so that one was fine today. But yeah, if there's a lot of detailed changes, I like a comparison back and forth flip view myself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see no other questions or comments or suggestions. With that, I don't believe there's anything else to bring up other than agenda the end. Bye.
Well, huge shout out there, Mark. Job well done. So, and thanks to the rest of the committee.
Yeah. Adjournment. That was the word I was looking for.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Right.
have a
Thank
good
Take care,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
I don't
Ryan,
feel- have a good
thanks,
weekend.
Robin.
Yeah, thanks,
Keystone.
Robin. Thanks, Ryan.
Keystone
you.
forever.